And it's a very facetious band. It can pop up one day and be open for 3 or 4 hours with contacts all over the western part of the USA. If you get lucky, you get Alaska, Hawaii, and you get double hop and you'll bounce right back to New York and Florida. And the next day, nothing. Absolutely nothing. A lot of people get the 706s, the FT100Ds, get on 6 meters, and the common thing that you hear is, I can't hear anything. It's because the band is very facetious, hence, near as I can figure, the Magic Band. Okay, amateur privileges. There's some strange things here. All amateurs except novices have privileges. I figured that one out. Novices have privileges phoned on 10 meters. They have privileges on 220 megahertz, okay, but not on 50 megahertz. I don't know. That just blows my mind. But they do have 80, 40, and they don't have 12 and 17 or whatever. Dennis?
We have the answer.
Yes.
In the old days, TVI, and they didn't want novices lighting up everybody's TV sets.
That could be. That could be. Well, with everything on cable, gee, I've talked to a lot of people, don't have too much trouble now. But in the old days, it was a problem. So it's open to all amateurs except novices. So if you want to do some DXing and you have a tech license and you're tired of waiting for the FCC to drop the code, which, what are they doing? Every other country, not every country, but a good number of countries have dropped the code requirement on the test. The FCC's ready to go. I don't know why they're dragging the feet. Probably this year sometime, I would imagine. So it's open to all amateurs except novices. The bandwidth is 50 to 54, and that's huge. You've got 4 megahertz of space there. Divide that up into channels if you want to. I haven't added it up, but I think all the other bands combined may be close to that 4 megahertz figure, really. Except when you get into the upper bands, of course. So it's very wide, and 50 megahertz is just below TV channel. Let's see, TV channel 2 is 56.
54 to 60.
Huh?
54 to 60.
54 to 60, right above us, there you go. So imagine getting a TV signal bouncing right into your TV antenna when it was on the roof, coming from New York. What would you do? The set's broke. Somebody's playing games with me. Oh, I actually saw that in Ohio. A TV signal bounced in and took over the Cleveland station and took bars all over the place. The next thing I know, I'm looking at a station in Texas. Sporadic E. So, okay, let's move right along. Oh, on the band, like other bands, the lower part of the band is CW only. Now, that does not mean you can't operate CW over the entire band, because all of our bands are pretty much that way. So you can operate CW in the phone portion. It is legal. It's quite often, not quite often done, but is done. Now, the rest of the band is for phone, data, and so on. Here's the band plan. I'm not going to read it off. You can read it as well as I. But let's look at 2 things. One is the Beacon subband. This is an incredible, valuable aid to figure out, are there any openings coming in on 6 meters? Because if you tune to 6 meters, you hear nothing. You tune, you soon get tired and go away. But if you listen to the beacons, and we'll show you a little bit more about those later on. Also, one frequency to keep in mind is 5125. Most of the DXing on 6 meters is done with sideband. Although I have worked, and others have worked, up in the FM portion. You'll get skipped, and the FM will work too. Not as well, but a sideband, but it will work. 2-noted frequency then, the beacon subband, and the what's called the sideband calling frequency. We'll talk about that a little later. Okay, the rest of them, we got repeater inputs. On the next, we have our FM portion with simplex. We have the FM repeater inputs and outputs. And of course, you want to stay off of these, and so you should have a plan to know what they are. I think perhaps Paul is going to put this whole thing up on the scope page so that you can print them out and you'll have your frequencies and ranges. Okay, next. Propagation modes. There's about 12 or 13 propagation modes, unlike some of the lower bands, the HF bands. I mean, some of these are so esoteric, it's incredible. I mean, how would you like to work into Kansas on aircraft scatter? Or maybe satellite scatter, I don't know. Rain scatter, and figure that one out. But our main ones are in red. Line of sight, of course. F2 layer. That's just like what we're used to on the HF bands. Although the HF bands can experience the next one as well, which is sporadic E. You get sporadic E on 10 meters, sometimes on 12 meters. So those are the main ones. Now, Aurora, believe it or not, was seen in Borrego Springs a couple of years ago. I didn't believe it, but there was a picture on the web, so I guess I do. And we don't experience it this far south. Very seldom does Aurora get down here. Okay, all the rest of them, the only other one I mentioned is tropospheric bending, and many of you are familiar with the 2-meter tropo bending, where the signal goes up, gets trapped in an inversion, temperature inversion layer, and ends up in Hawaii. And signals can be very, very strong, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. 6 meters can experience that. Now, the other ones I won't talk much about, except the two called troposcatter and ionoscatter. There's a guy up in Humboldt who gets on the 6-meter band virtually every day, and he calls CQ scatter. Well, I've talked to him a couple of times. I don't know if he's doing ionoscatter or if he's doing troposcatter, but he is sure scattering. He's running a kilowatt, and he's got stacked beams up on a Humboldt mountain at 8,000 feet. I don't know however high that thing is. And he gets on, he calls CQ scatter, and a guy comes back to him from Bakersfield, and another from Fresno. And down here, we can't hear the other stations at all. So he's blasting the atmosphere, and enough of it is scattering downwards that guys in Bakersfield, Fresno, Modesto can hear him. It's a very unusual mode. And when there's no other propagation, and you want to do something besides line of sight, well, there it is. Moon bounce, won't even talk about it. It's going to take a station way out of our price range. Next. Okay, line of sight is very much like 2 meters. And as you go down in frequency, the line of sight for a given amount of power and antenna gain and everything is a little bit further. So 50 meters might have a little bit more range than would 2 meters. So sometimes called the optical distance, there's formulas for that, and that's, how far can you see over the horizon. So there's several of us in here who are on 6 meters, and we've worked up to Lake Elsinore, to Long Beach, Riverside, and those are all within the optical distance. Okay, F2 propagation, here's a big surprise. The solar flux and the sun activity can get so high at the peak of the solar cycle, and our next one's coming up in, I think, about 5 or 6 years now. We're sliding towards the bottom. Can get so high and so heavy that the solar flux can get up to towards the 200s. That's an enormous amount of ionization in the atmosphere. And what happens is the higher frequency you go, when you get that much solar activity, 6 meters will F-skip. It's just like it does on 10 or 15 or 20. Not that you can't have sporadic E on 10 or 12. So the thing about it is, like 10 meters, those of you who experience that, the skip is long. You get on 10 meters or you get into 6 meter F-layer skip, and you'll skip right from here to Hawaii, to Alaska, and to the East Coast. And nothing in between, because you're going right over the top of everybody else. We'll show you how to work the rest of the states in just a moment. So F-layer skip, if you tried to work Wyoming or Utah or Nevada on 10 meters during F-layer skip time, you're wasting your time. You skip right over the top of them. You might do it backscatter. But at the right time, you can work Nevada and Wyoming on sporadic E on 10 meters, as well as 6 meters. So it's quite a phenomenon, because it's a real long skip. If things are proper, you'll bounce over the Atlantic Ocean and go back up in the air and bounce again and end up in Europe. It's very difficult from the West Coast, but it can happen with a flare. And it seems to occur, as stated there, right around December or so. As I recall, I only had one experience with it, and it was really fun. Okay, next. Sporadic heat. The ionosphere has these layers, the D layer, the E layer, the F layer, and so on line. And the sun ionizes those atmospheres, and that's what gives us radio propagation. Although sporadic E is very mysterious as far as the gurus go, because nobody's quite certain what causes it. You can be at the bottom of the solar cycle and still have just roaring sporadic E. So sporadic E is independent primarily of the solar cycle. At the bottom of the solar cycle, you'll have sporadic E. In fact, it might be a little better than it would be another time. Okay, so at about heights of 60 to 70 miles, it forms in patches, or let me call them clouds. These clouds move very rapidly. So if you get on the band, 6-meter band, you might be talking to Washington or Oregon. 10 minutes later, you're talking to Utah, and then 10 minutes later, you're over in Wyoming someplace. The patches move very quickly at times. Okay, very random. It can be very short in duration. Probably the best theory I've heard is, I don't know, there seems to be a majority opinion of perhaps wind shear and another time into the weather. It certainly is seasonal, as we'll see in a moment. Go ahead, Mo. Sporadic E seasons, if we can call them that. That's what makes this meeting timely. Here we are right at the beginning of May, and it's going to start, we're going to start to get occurrences of sporadic E propagation in May, peaking in June, leveling off in July. This morning I was talking with one of the 6-meter gurus who's been on the band for 40-some years, and he was really giving me some good information, things I hadn't found in books, and I have all the books. He guarantees almost historically from his experience that in 2 weeks, sporadic E will start up and the band will go gangbusters. So mark your calendars. Okay, you can see that it drops off a little bit gradually September. There's a peak in November, December. Nowhere near as the main primary peak. You can just about say that January, February, and particularly March, just forget it. It could occur, it does occur, but very, very seldom. Okay. The variations. Yes, sir.
That chart you just had, does that only apply to, say, the northern hemisphere, and would it be inverted for the southern hemisphere?
Yeah, it varies according to geography. In the book I had, this was northern hemisphere, USA. Yeah. There's some very strange things that happens when you get in other geographical areas, like you get down around Malaysia and places like that, and they're experiencing propagation patterns that we never heard of. Primarily, you see, it appears to be somewhat sun-dependent, but who knows? Because we start off and we kind of peak up just before noon, we dip down, who knows why, come back up again, and pretty much when the sun goes down, it's all over. Yes?
Some of the recent theories are that the sprites and plumes, which occur at the tops of thunderstorms, form these E-clouds. Is one, okay.
That's another theory.
West and northwest. So,
Yeah.
if you're hearing Kansas, a little bit later you'll be hearing Montana, and a little bit later you'll be hearing Alaska.
Well, my experience from where we're at is the other way around. I'll hear Washington, Oregon first, and then I'll go across into the other western states, and eventually ended up in downtown Denver. So it depends where you're at and how the clouds are forming. I've seen it go the other way too. So in the wintertime, as you can see what's happening there, that's probably responsible for that other peak that we looked at. Okay? What's my time here? Okay, line of sight, anytime, 10 miles, small antenna, very much like 2 meters. 0 to 30 miles. Sporadic E, seasonal. And here's a surprise perhaps. Very small antenna because of the frequency. We're talking about, Art, correct me, 4.5 feet for 50 megahertz for a quarter wave. That's about 9 foot for half wave antenna. Very small. In fact, you could take a piece of wire and hang it from a tree 9 feet long, feed it in the center, and you got a $2 antenna that's a vertical dipole, and oh, do they work well. Nice low angular radiation. So small antennas, low power, and your first hop skip distance is anywhere from 600 to 1,500 miles, translated from here to the Mississippi River, roughly. So you get Spratty Key, you go up, come back down. Depending where that cloud is, you start working all through the western part of the country. You can get Texas and New Mexico, Nevada, and the typical patterns that I have noted is from here to Washington and Oregon to start off with, and then it seems to drift across the other way. We got a pipeline from here to downtown Denver. I never heard anything from Colorado Springs, but downtown Denver comes roaring in. Who knows? Okay, F2 layer, I think we've discussed that. Aurora, we won't see it down here. We got a couple others here. Go ahead, Paul. Okay, meteor scatter. This is a very viable mode. I haven't tried it, but some of the people who have, I just love it. And the trail, the meteor trail, is so short that if you get a syllable across there and back off to somebody else, you're doing good. So people send high-speed CW, and it's recorded, their call sign and all that kind of good stuff. Maybe it goes 80 words a minute. Guy on the other end records it, slows it down, knows what's, and gets the call, and then goes the reverse. That's the old style of doing it. Now there's a new style of doing it, and it's data. Oh, let's hear it for data. There are 3 data modes. You see them up there. And you send up data, bounce them off the meteor trail, goes back and shows up right on your screen. So, and the meteor trails are also seasonal. What do they call those things? The paranoids? And the Leonoids and the paranoids. But that's another very interesting mode that you can do with a very small antenna and low power. Okay, and you can get quite a distance out of that too. Ionosphere scatter, we've talked about that, blasting the atmosphere. And EME, forget about it, that's moon bounce. Okay, Paul. Good squares. For whatever reason, VHF folks, DXers and otherwise, not only want to know where you're at city-wise and state-wise and so on, but they want to know where you're at in what's called the good square. If you're familiar with good squares, this is all news to you. But world's divided up, as you will see. Go ahead, Paul. If you want to read that, that's how it's divided up. And later on, we'll give examples of, on the map of what these grid squares are. And VHF work for 6 meters, we use the first one, which is indicated by 2 letters and a number. For example, here we're DM 12 and 13 primarily. Somebody else outside of that area? Oh, San Diego maybe.
San Diego's 12.
Yeah, San Diego's 12, we're 13. Someplace up North Riverside, I think it changes, I'm not sure. At any rate, when we give a report, we hear a station out in Kansas, we tell him our call sign, we say you're 5'9", everybody's 5'9" for a good reason, and we give them our grid square. The reason it's 5'9" is because people don't want to type 5'3", 5'4", 4'2", 4'1". They got their computer programmed where 5'9" is for everybody. Contesters, am I right? Right. Okay, now, if somebody wants to know where you're at down to, what is it, 3 by 4 miles? Yeah. There's 2 more letters that go along with this, and it would be mine, I think, is DM, DM13 India Fox. Where do you get this information? You can go to QRZ, and it has it, but it's based upon, I think, your zip code or maybe the city center, and you may be further away from that and be outside of that particular grid square. So what you want to do is get a GPS reading, then there's a formula on the web, go from longitude, latitude to exact grid square. Yes?
Some of the GPS will also give grid squares directly.
Oh, do they?
But Garmin said that most of the digitized, or most of the data on the internet comes from digitized maps. And because of the curvature, there is some distortion. And that's why the digitized maps are a little bit off, and
Yeah.
that's why QRZ and everything else will be a little bit off.
Well, QRZ is off because you've got a post office box, they don't know where you're at. And also, they sometimes go by the center where the city, Oceanside, is proper. Yes?
They go by the post office, so it's probably wrong.
Right.
When you look yourself up, you'll find out they probably have the wrong suffix.
Yeah. It's really easy to get the wrong grid square if you go by those kind of things. Get a GPS unit, pin it right down, write it down, you know exactly where you're at. Dave?
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
If you know your lat long, you can figure it out.
Oh, yeah. And MSAT has that calculator also. Yes, sir.
You can find your lat long by looking on Google Maps and clicking on the pointer. It will tell you the lat and the long in the URL that it gives you.
Yeah, that's probably the way to do it. Although Google at one time took me to Long Beach and the longest route you ever saw. Bertie and I were going to Long Beach, and we were running around in circles and off this road and down that road. And I said, stop, get out the map. And we looked at the map and bing, it's right there. So,
You ever notice you do a map and it's always the house next door?
Yeah, or 2 houses away.
okay, when do we have propagation? If you tune into the 6 meter band right at the height of the solar or the sporadic heat season in June, and you hear nothing. What? What's going on? Well, it used to be you could monitor the lower TV channels, not cable, of course. And as I gave an example, your local TV station can be totally taken over by something 500 miles away. You start to see bars rolling around your TV station, that kind of thing. But we don't use that much anymore, and here comes the big one. We're going to see that in a moment, the beacons. These are beacons made, designed, built by amateurs, usually very low power, and out of their own pocket and the goodness of their heart, and they're all over the world. We'll see just a sampling of them in a moment. You can check the DX packet clusters, and you figure, why in the world would anybody make a listing on the DX packet cluster where it's usually Armenia, the island of Tonga, which just got blasted with an earthquake, and at the same time tell you that Kansas is on 6 meters? What? Is that DX? On the 6 meter band it is. So you will find many announcements on the DX packet cluster, which is available either through VHF or the web. Is that clock right? Mm-hmm. Running, yeah, okay. And the packet clusters are just full of 6 meter announcements because it's a very fickle band. It's not easy to work all states. It's very easy to work a whole bunch of grid squares, 100 to be exact, to get an award. All states is something else, but you got to keep at it. And if you want to try to work DXCC, that's 100 countries on 6 meters. Good luck. Good luck. I guess we'd have some DX club members who have done that, don't we? Yes, Eric?
N6CW is now at 107 countries, I think.
On 6 meters?
6 meters.
From here.
I don't have my hat on, but I would certainly tip it. It's an extremely arduous task. It must have taken years, or am I wrong? It must have taken years. 1 year? Oh, no. 35 years, that's more like it.
One lifetime.
Okay, the other one is to monitor 50.125. That's the sideband calling frequency. If it drives you nuts with all the noise, there's a useless control on your radio. What is it? The squelch control. Turn up the squelch control, just barely. And hopefully you'll have something down the line, lawnmower that triggers it periodically. And just lightly squelch it, turn down the volume a little bit. Go on the web, search, read a book, kick the dog, whatever. Watch TV, and all of a sudden you'll hear CQ from CN98. Where's that? Well, we got to have a map for that, but it's up in Washington somewhere. So, monitor 5125, great way to catch DX, provided that you have something else to do. You can check the propagation reports. Go ahead, Paul. Okay, here's the U.S. map. You notice our Delta Mike location there down around San Diego, Oceanside. We are, this work? Yeah, except you can't see it. We're down in here. Okay, and CN is up in this area. And CN over here. There isn't too many of the C's before they get cut off. Everything else becomes D's till you get to the Midwest, and that's E's, and then you get over to New England, that's F's. And down in here, you start to get into Echo. So that's your just very, very rough good square map, and ICOM has a beautiful map. You should have one of those that give away free. So somebody's calling from EN88, you can look right at the map and get a good idea where he's at. Okay, the beacons, see them here with all the X's all over the country, and there's a lot more than that. I'm not sure who made the beacon map, but that's the only one I could find. Now the beacons transmit continuously down in the frequency range that we specified. And when you get on the band, you go down to the beacons and listen for them. There's one that comes out of Kansas all the time. It may not work anybody in Kansas, but the beacon is there, it seems like every day. And they're a very good harbinger, if you will, where signals are coming from. Okay? Good. Antennas, we said, could be small, 4.5 feet for a quarter wave. Power is not critical in 6 meters, contrary to popular belief, perhaps, because we're in a very esoteric band. And those who've experienced 10 meters, you can get on 10 meters with 10 watts of power, QRP, if you will, and work halfway around the world when you have propagation. You can have East Coast kilowatts blasting away to the South Indian Ocean, and on the West Coast you're running 5 watts of power, and you beat out the kilowatts on the East Coast. Why? You have propagation. And you can usually tell. Signal comes in from India or Malaysia, and it's 20 dB over 9. Propagation. 5 watts will get you there. Very much the case with 6 meters. However, when you start to get double hop, multi-hop, and another mode called cloud-to-cloud hop, then power can be your friend, for sure. Because you may have a very weak signal out there and he's running power, and you better have some too. Good one. Oh, the rigs. 6 meters has a big resurgence because in the old days you had to build your own Heathkit lunchbox, take your HF rig and run it through a transverter. But now you've got all these rigs that got 6 meters, 2 meters, and every other meter's in it. It's an all-frequency box. So examples of 706, the FT100D, and the 2 Kenwoods I've listed there. So you go to buy an HF rig, think seriously what your needs are. If you're going to do contesting, you might want a better rig than what we've listed here. But if you want an all-around, all-band, all-mode type rig, then one of these prefixes, I think we're all up on those. But if you're not, if you're fairly new to the AM radio, you can see the allotment for the USA. Excuse me. And KL, AL, I forgot to put in NL. Those are set aside for Alaska. KH6, AH6, I also NL, or AH6. Then all the islands out there that we took during all the various wars have the same identifier. AH2, AH3, AH4, and so on down the line. So you need a prefix list, but that's a sample of what you might hear. Canada, you're going to hear Canada. They all come roaring through. They're typically Victor, Echo, but they can be any of the ones listed there. Those are, the ones with the C's are what they call their secondary prefixes. They run out of the primary in a particular district, they'll go to the other ones, but they don't have to. They do VAA or VA instead of VE. But during contests, during special events, the 100th anniversary of the revolution of whatever, they can use those. Same thing with Mexico. And the Yankees have known to go down to Mexico and get a call like 6 Echo 2 Tango. What is that?
Six enchiladas and 2 tacos.
There you go. So you're liable to hear those from Mexico, but they're usually for special events or foreigners. There you go. Okay, now there's 355 DXCFTs. So, yeah, I counted up the prefixes, but there's hundreds of them. So have a good prefix list in case you get Kilo Golf 4. And you think right away, aha, you got somebody in Georgia. Nope, you got somebody in Guantanamo Bay. So you need the prefix list for that. CO is Cuba. You're likely to hear those. You can get propagation on it pretty well. Next. Awards. Worked all states, including Alaska and Hawaii. Difficult. Very difficult. Because, let me put it this way. KG6GIQ, who is Paul's buddy, and Paul mentored into his ham license, is up in Lancaster. In 1 year, he worked all states and over 200 good squares. And there's many of us around are still struggling for those remaining states. It's not easy. But it's a goal to set, and it is achievable within a few years with diligence. Okay, other clubs, VUCC, working grid squares. There's a whole pile of grid squares in the USA and Canada. If you work hard enough, there's a ARRL award for that. And then there's endorsements for every 50 or 100 or whatever. So VUCC is easy to work. You can probably do that just Western USA. Worked all states, you're going to have to work at it. And DXCC, forget it. Very, very difficult. During the height of the sunspot cycle, when F-layer skip is very long, you'll skip out of the west coast, bounce into the ocean in the Atlantic someplace, and bounce again over to Europe for 15 minutes a day. My understanding is, from talking to the pros, you get propagation to Europe on 6 meters, maybe 15 minutes a day. It's very, very short openings. Looks like gray line kind of stuff. I've never experienced F-layer to Europe, so I don't know. I'm telling you what the gurus tell me. SPIRC is the 6-meter International Radio Club, spelled with a K. With a K. And they're a very well-known 6-meter activity group. They offer awards too. There's a group around, I can't think of the name of them. You have N1SIX, N6SIX, and on up through the districts. And if you work all the districts, N district SIX, then there's an award for that. I got 2 of them. Okay, Bob. Working the 6-meter band, I think we're repeating here a little bit. Okay, calling CQ on the calling frequency, I'm going to get in trouble here, but I won't do it anyway. It's tempting to get on 5125 and call CQ over and over and over again. Nobody answers. The only thing is a guy up in Long Beach and another over in Newport Beach and a guy over in Riverside, and you are driving them nuts because they're listening to 5125 for something coming out of somewhere else in California. So do it occasionally and then give it a break. If somebody comes back to you, or you got 3 or 4 come back, and 5125 will get very busy. You'll hear signals all over the place, fading in and out, guys in Texas, Kansas, and all over. It's because they're piling up on one frequency. Spread it out. Once you call your CQ, you got 2 or 3 stations, tell them you're going to be up at 5130. So move around that band and spread things out. And I don't mean any criticism of anybody here because I've done it, so I'm criticizing myself until I learn not to do it. It's okay to call CQ occasionally to see if anything's going on. If nothing's going on, a local will probably come back and you can say, let's go up 2 kilohertz or 20 kilohertz and we'll back you up there. Okay. What was that last one here, Paul? I'm sorry, this is calling CQ. That's good advice. Yeah. Yak on 2 meters while you're waiting for 6. Right? Yeah. Okay, it's very important getting on a band like this for the first time where you're outside of the 2 meter realm is to make the contact, and the essential information for QSL cards and awards is your call sign, your signal report, 59 if you will, your grid square, and possibly your name. You don't need the name, but grid square, because that helps that accounts for VUCC. Log the contact. Have a logbook, either computer or paper, and log it, because some guy's going to come back at you 5 years later and ask for a QSL card. I've been chasing a QSL card from Rhode Island for 3 years. Haven't got a check. I even made one up and sent to him. I said, "Here, sign it." Just said, nothing. It didn't come back. Now, the reason for that is pretty much, I think, after examining it, the HFers are pretty good QSLers, except the real low guys are tired of it all. The best QSLers domestically is the novice band. Everybody in the novice band QSLs almost 100%. And the technicians get on the band for the first time. They don't have a QSL card. It isn't important to them. They're just having fun working the band. And here comes some poor guy from southeast Florida with a chunk of wire on his window running 1 watt, and he wants your QSL card. You ain't got it, you ain't going to give it to him. Not good. So, log all of your contacts, and when you first make the contact, I'll give you an example of what's up there. I needed Arkansas, and I was pretty sure an Arkansas station there because I got his call sign. I looked it up in the call book. He is in Arkansas. I patiently waited till he finished with his contact. And I said, "The station in Arkansas, here's AC6V. And he comes back and he says, "AC6V, this is KD." What's the 5? This is KD 5. Gone. Gone totally. That's how fickle the man can be. And it took another year and a half before I got Arkansas. Anyway, very quickly exchange information so that it goes in the log and accounts for the various awards. Don't start rag chewing right off the bat, because you leave off the mic, you're talking to nobody many times. Now, how long can you talk in 6 meters? Quite long sometimes. Parker Marshall is Dennis Goldston. Went up to, where'd he go, Washington? Yeah. I hooked up with him one day on 6 meters. We talked for 20, 30 minutes. 20 over 9. No problem at all. So sometimes the sporadic E clouds sit there and we talk for a long time. Other times, you got a station out there that comes in 20 over 9. You talk for 20, 30 seconds back and forth, lift up on the key, and he is gone. That's how fickle the man can be. So make your contacts quick and get the essential information. Okay, when it comes to QSLing, I recommend on the high frequency bands, and any band for that matter, as part of the finding out what people want to do and what you want to do, use what I call QSL Never, QSL Mutual, and QSL SASC. Okay, you will find old timers on the band that have 5,000 cards from every state in the union. They don't want another one from you, and they really don't want to send you one. So they're likely to say QSL Never, sorry. QSL Mutual, you send me one, I'll send you one. We pay the postage ourselves. I don't pay for it, you pay for it. Now, you work a station in Wyoming. Very achievable in 6 meters. How many hams in San Diego? Roughly? 9,000. How many stations in the entire state of Wyoming? 10. It's just about right. And last I saw, there's 1,500. And for people working all states, they want Wyoming and Rhode Island in the worst way. And they send all these poor guys the cards. I've talked to guys already that have in excess of 1,000 or 1,500 QSL cards requests per year. They're going to pay 39 cents for each one of them? I don't think so. So, QSL with an SASC for the rare states, or if the guy asks for it. There's a lot of people out there been on that band 30, 40 years, and they got every state, they got every good square except the one sitting in the ocean. And they really don't need your card, but they will send you one if you send an SASC, self-addressed stamped envelope. Yes, sir. Paul, could you answer that?
Yep.
There you go.
I didn't hear the question, but yeah.
Wait, Dennis, wait a minute. No, you're 5'9", Paul.
They QSL and Log to the World also.
6 meters?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've gotten.
Okay. Not domestically though.
Yeah,
You could QSL state to state?
yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Just
All right.
not
Sorry.
work all state.
Sorry. Yeah. At first, I thought there was some doubt about that, but apparently it's clarified. Okay.
So it's about 3 months old.
Okay. There you go. And you know, if you're not in a big hurry to work everything in the world, and used to live in Kansas down around Iola, and you remember the city square and all that kind of thing, you might want to sit there and write you, and you can. No question about it. If the other person wants to do that. Unfortunately, shouldn't say that. 6 meters takes on the character of DXing, really. Quick contacts, because the propagation doesn't last long, and go try to find something else. But the old timers will sit there and talk to you all day if the band goes up. Go ahead, Paul. How am I doing on time? Huh?
15 minutes.
Okay. I timed this with our dog. And I looked over, and the dog fell asleep. Carla was working. Okay, 6 meter signal reports. Don't have to do that one again. Go ahead, Paul. Logging. Very important to log. Just a couple of notes here. You've got to use UTC. You cannot use local time. Like you see a guy sitting here in Wyoming trying to figure out where he worked all these people according to local time in his log. No. UTC strictly means you got to have a UTC clock. Now, turns out on your computer there he is, a clock. How can you get your clock to be accurate to within maybe 0.2 of a second? Always. Okay, there's a program on the web. And every time you turn on your computer, or when you want to, you click on the little icon, it goes out, it catches NIST, and it synchronizes your clock, and it's always on time. You don't need to time the clock. So, use UTC. These are things you should have on there. Date and time, frequency band, mode, time off. What I meant by that is use UTC time. Reports. If they have a QSL manager, which they might if they're down in Cuba. If you're in a contest, record the numbers. They'll say you're 59088, you're the 88th contact, or some. Usually in 6 meters, I think it's the good screw. Optional items, you can see there. Next one, Paul. Paul? Oh, we're in the next one. I'm sleeping. Here's QSL format. The only thing I can say there, if you put your email address on your QSL card, it's probably a good idea. I may want to email you something or other. And don't use your provider, rod@cox.net, because next month I'm going to change it to something else. But you can use amsat.org, use ARRL.net. It's printed and on your QSL card, and it stays that way, even though you change providers. It's an alias system which Paul manages, and this is great value. So put on an alias rather than that. Okay, be aware that when you start working across the world with different formats, we do month, day, and year.
We're the odd folk.
Huh?
We're the odd folk.
What does Europe do? The other way around. So I have got in the habit on my QSL card, I don't do either one of them. I spell out the month, it abbreviated DEC, APR, MAR. Now they know what month it is. The next one's got to be the date, and then finally the year. That will avoid confusion when you're working DX way out there. Put in the band frequency and the contact. You can work RIDI on that band. Harry back there, you worked a lot of RIDI on 6 meters?
Beg pardon?
You worked a lot of RIDI on 6 meters?
I've never tried RIDI on 6.
Okay, I know you work a lot of RIDI, that's why I asked. You can work PSK 31 on 6 meters? Done it? Not very often, but have done. Okay, in the RST system, which is, we'll get into that. Use the RST system, go ahead. just some more QSL card format that you might want to consider on your cards. And, give you a moment to take a look at that. Some of the rare stations, like there's in the news today, was what, Tonga got blasted by an earthquake. Tonga is a very small island, kingdom of Tonga, as I recall. And at any given time, if there's one hand there, that's a lot. So if you ever, and it's possible to contact Tonga on 6 meters, could be done. Dave Dunn, where are you? You contacted Fiji, right? He's got a
It
Fiji.
wasn't Fiji, but it was close. One of the ones I can't pronounce.
Oh, okay.
Vanuatu or something like that.
Vanuatu. I pronounce it Vanuatu. Vanuatu is another thing.
Yeah, I got them New Zealand and Australia.
Oh, wow. That gives you an idea what you can do in 6 meters. I've never done that. And I've got some distant contacts, but not that far. So you did very well. But if you get those, they're rare, they're valuable. You come to the meeting and say, look, I just worked at New Zealand and Australia, and everybody yawns. And you say, 6 meters. Okay. I think go on from there. If you join a club, a DX club, or that kind of thing, put that on your QSL card. Many DX clubs offer rewards, or awards, I should say, when you work 100 of their members or whatever. Okay, go ahead. Oh, go back to that diver extreme. There you go. Back one. Okay, if you work a station and you email him and he doesn't have a QSL card, he ain't going to make them up. He's just dabbling around on 6 meters. Make up one for him. That's what his interest story is. A sailor, put on a nice image of a sailing boat and fill it all out with his call sign confirming your call and the whole bit. And down at the bottom, say, please sign. That is valid. Yes, Tom.
Harry had a really good idea. You write a $5 check.
That is a good DX trick for overseas. Yeah, there's a couple DX tips for overseas. Gets really funny. The QSL card is on the other side of a $5 bill, so you can peel it off, and a check. And if you're trying to get a card up out of Iran or some of the third world countries, you got a problem. Well, the way I solved it was I had a friend of a friend, and he was from Iran. And I had him write it all in PARC, and down in the bottom I made sure it was in English capital letters, Iran. And up in the top, where did it come from? Came from Dr. Dinkins, and who was, what's the doctor? MD. For some reason overseas, there are certain countries that have respect for a title, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. So if you make your letter look official and not ham radio, go to the trouble to address it in their language, and the postal guys who sometimes rip off all of this stuff because they know there's money in there, will look at that and say, oh, I know him, and they pass it on. So that's another tip when you start to work with that kind of DX. Okay, well, going mobile, Don, the mobileer. I followed Don when I think it was on a weekend. You were going to a ham convention over in Arizona, and he was going over the mountains and through Arizona and through this grid square and that grid square. And the two important things, mobile really works. 5 watts of power and a quarter wave antenna. You could just, I followed a station one time all across the northern part of the country. It was going from Wyoming to South Dakota to North Dakota and over to here and over to there. And a lot of those places up there, nobody lives there. There's no hams in that grid square. Okay, and as he would go across, he would give his grid square. So I just followed him around. I talked to him every once in a while. I said, how do you know where you're at? Very easy, he said, GPS. And the other one is, if you don't have GPS, get probably what I consider one of the best call books around, and that's ArtSci. In the ArtSci, every state has a map showing all of the major thoroughfares, highways, all the towns, including the little burgs, and what grid square they're in, and where the 2-meter repeaters are, and 440. as well. It's a great, great guide. And that'll tell you good squares as you travel from one to the other. But I would suggest GPS. Yeah, Paul?
I know you already passed QS zoning, but VE7CC has a free packet program that you can download off the net. And his most recent 3 or 4 issues, he has since updated it so that when you see someone post it, if they are a logbook of the world user, there's a little plus sign in the comments column.
Okay.
And so you can search down there and say, oh man, that guy's a logbook of the world. That saves you sending anything, them sending anything back to you. You know, it's very easy. It's all done electronically. And so, you know, but it has a little plus sign in the comments.
Good. I'm doing pretty good on time. I want to finish up here pretty quick. We'll go through Q&A, and then Paul, maybe you can tell us more about Logbook of the World. Very valuable for HF DXers, 6-meter DXers too. Harry, did you have something?
Just one thing on SASEs. You got to remember that as part of your address that you put on for them to send to you, that after your name and street address, state, city, state, and zip code, the letter USA.
Yes.
That is part of your address.
Right. Now, QSLing to foreign countries and islands and everything gets very dicey. It's like, I can't remember, Reunion Island? You ain't going to send it there direct. Just throw it in the mail, Reunion Island. There's that. But if you look at the instructions for sending to Reunion Island, it will say via France. So some QSLing is via the parent country, and sometimes it will go direct. And that will typically you can find on the web. There's a thing on the web called the Pathfinder, which will give you QSL information for a lot of DX stations and also the QSL managers. A lot of tips and tricks there, but we're not at HF today. Okay, Rover goes from square to square. And that's about what we have there. Anyway, it's a fun band, and you set a goal for it, or just get around and dabble around. Questions, Dave?
2 or 3 or 4 years ago, there was a move afoot to move the calling frequency to 50.200. Whatever happened to that?
To do what? 50.200?
50.200.
Yeah.
Change the calling frequency.
I think we had that. Paul, could you go back to the same number
You
2?
had 125, which has been for years and years. But
Yeah, let's see. Hold it right in there. 50.2, where are we?
50.
Back one?
You don't have it on there. I was just wondering whatever happened to that.
Last one.
There was a so-called Pacific DX window at 51.1. I've never heard anything there.
That one I've been listening for a good while.
No, I haven't seen anything about that. Oh, CW and phone folks. 5125 is the sideband frequency, but on occasion you hear a CW signal there. Why? Because the guy was down in the CW portion, not way down, but just below 5125, calling CQ and CW. Nobody's answering him. So he comes up, gets on the sideband calling frequency and hopes that there's some people there that come back to him, and they do. So, particularly if the band's kind of quiet. I was sitting there one night watching TV, kicking the dog, and 5125, and I had this real weak code. I went up, turned up the thing, KL7 something something. What? It's Alaska. At 6:30 at night? No. No, I fired it up. This time I learned to keep a key operative. Fired it up, came right back to me. There he was calling CQ and CW on the sideband calling frequency. More common, they'll be just below. But they won't be all the way down there at the bottom of the band. You don't find too much down there. And watch out for the beacons, so get in the way of that too. Yes?
Speaking of monitoring 50.125, sometimes during the day I'll be listening with the volume down but the squelch open so that I can hear the noise, and I'll hear brief conversation or a call, say from something that sounds like Denver. It only lasts for a few seconds and then disappears. Is that sporadic E, or could that be meteor scatter, or what?
Probably sporadic E, depending on the time of year, but that's typical. Excuse me. The band can be so fickle that 5125 you can hear a call sign, and that's it. You can hear a name, that's all. You can hear Kansas City, Missouri, that's all. A very, very fickle band. It's almost like if you're rolling on out there and traveling across it. And you get into double hop, that's particularly true. You can go up, back down, and back into the rest of the country. Single hop will take you out to the Mississippi, more or less. Double hop will take you across the rest of the country and sometimes down into the Caribbean. Now, there's another type which you go up to a cloud, it doesn't come down. It goes from cloud to cloud. I don't know how they figured that, but that's what they say. It goes from cloud to cloud, then it comes down. So that'll dump you into Indiana. Well,
there's one little other comment that you didn't necessarily mention. One day I listened to all the beacons in Uranus in the beacon bands. Nobody was talking on 5125. And I decided it was a lot like 10 meters. There was nobody calling CQ. I parked in Vista at the Brangle Terrace Park. And I got on, 50093 and called CQ. And a guy from Delaware came back to me. The only two on the band. And this guy's a big guy. He was the M3 something. He's the big East Coast
M3 SIX.
Yes. SIX. 1x2.
Yeah.
But he said, you're the only guy on the band. I said, well, I decided to just call CQ because I wasn't hearing it.
Yeah, always call it an occasional CQ, search the band up and down. One day I was searching around the band, there's got to be something here. So I'm way up there at 50.250 or something like that. And here's two guys rag chewing. And they're in Georgia. Nothing else in the band. Break. Are you guys in the state of Georgia? Or are you in Georgia, California? No, we're down here in Georgia. You never know. On the HF band, one of my best ones was nothing on the band. 15 meters. I mean, nothing was going on. Some locals and that's it. Well, I have a band scope, and on the band scope I see this big blip clear up there at the edge of the band. 21,400, right around through there. The band limit's 450, I think. Yeah. Up around 400, it's this huge blip. So I go up there and tune in, and who is it? ZDZ?
ZD8Z.
Huh?
ZD8Z.
Yeah, ZD8Z coming out of Ascension Island with his rhombic antenna running power, and he's burning holes in the atmosphere, and there's nobody else there. So I always search the band in case it ain't there. Yes, sir.
When you talk about these different modes, most of the time you're working with more than one mode. And you talked about Denver. There is a weather phenomenon out in Denver that will give you the final guide band right into downtown Denver. I refer to it as the I-70 corridor weather. It comes right straight up I-70, rolls over the top. I'm serious. It rolls over the top of Vail Summit, and you get a Chinook that just rolls right straight down into Denver. And it pulls the atmosphere down from 100,000 feet. You can actually sit there and watch it in the afternoon.
And it's hard to keep track of all that goes on. And we're working a station pretty far north. Golly, I can't think where it's at. Is it north of Palm Springs or up through there? And he was fluttering around all over the place, and it was airplane scattered.
Okay, question. I just got a rig to put inside the house at 6 meters. I got 6 elements on a 34-foot boom to kill somebody with signals, but I also got a loop, a 6-meter loop. And if I was going to park this thing, I mean, I could point my beam bi-directional, East Coast, the Pacific, or